Don't let me forget I have gifts for all of you when we're done. I guess it's a break, so we won't cause too much havoc there. I'm glad that Thor could mention a little bit about Wicker and what we do there. It's not what I'm going to talk about today, though. Talk about hacking a little bit more. This is actually a hacker right here. We pay her a lot of money to hack us. She works for ISEC Partners. She's also one of the best big wave surfers in the world. Hackers are actually generally very athletic as well. We respect ninjas a lot, so you have to be both physically and mentally smart. These are not fat people in basements. They're the best surfers in the world. And I'm really lucky because I've spent the last 15 years being educated by the best hackers in the world. My parents get mad at me, but I say that this is 100 times more valuable than my Ivy League education. And I'll teach you some of the things that I've learned from this great group of people. Also, about 5 years ago, I founded Roots Asylum, which is the kids version, where we teach kids how to love white hat hacking. And that also happens at DEFCON. So we bring in the best hackers in the world. And we teach the kids things like how to eavesdrop on your cell phone calls. So right now, my daughter's sitting outside with a femtocell in a backpack that costs $400, getting all your passwords. and emails and listening to your phone calls. It's really that easy. This is not NSA level stuff. This is something we teach the kids how to do in a half an hour. Furthermore, we teach the kids how to turn on your interfacing camera on your smartphone, your laptop, your TV, without the light going on. This is happening to journalists and human rights fighters all over the world for low-level blackmail. Again, this is something we teach the kids how to do in about a half an hour. What I've got up here at the end for you are some removable stickers that you can stick over your cameras, because that's really the only high-tech solution that we've come up with at this point. That's the one thing the NSA definitely can't hack, paper. And so when the summer of Snowden hit for us, to me I was like, duh? Doesn't everyone know that's happening? At DEFCON every year we've got 40 brand new attacks that are happening, and 70 nation states there learning all of those new attacks. You don't think that they're using those attacks? They would actually be negligent not to, right? So this is way greater than the NSA. In fact, the NSA is just the tip of the iceberg, and it's the least of the threat to my friends and family out here. There are not only 70 other nation states that do a very active spying, there's thousands and thousands of data brokers that spend every minute of every day spying on every one of you. And that's the real problem. Why do you think the government went to technology companies to ask for help for surveillance? Because they're the masters of this. They do it every day. This is how they make money. And they don't have Congress telling them that they can't do things. And so, one of the things I do and have been telling all my friends and family to do is boycott Facebook. I've never been on Facebook, and I don't think you should be either, because it wasn't made for your benefit. It was made for advertisers, and it was made to sell information. Now, Facebook's great for posting something that you want the entire world to see, and that's it. It's not meant for private communications and private conversations. And I'll take it a step further and say, you're stupid to Skype. Have you read their privacy policy? Do you want your conversations with your mother or your sexting with your girlfriend recorded and sold to Venezuela or other governments around the world? Thor tells a great story how some of the governments actually put human rights fighters' Skype calls on TV to scare them. So you should know that none of the conversations that you have on there are private. And what's happened here is that we have these privacy policies that were originally developed to protect consumers, but what they've become is something that's used as a risk mitigation tool for these large companies. And so what we're trying to do is to have these called ownership policies instead of privacy policies, because I think then people would care. You say privacy, people don't care about the word privacy. I say, do you want to own your photos and your conversations with your girlfriend? Yeah, everyone wants that. And that's what you need to think of those as. So if you meet me here today, please don't invite me to a party, because now you have a whole shadow dossier that they have on me that you just helped create. Stop selling out your friends. It's rude of you to invite them to a party. You just gave all your contact information and contacts to another site that's selling your info and now selling your friends' info. So follow the money here. It's something you need to ask every single time with every one of these companies is how are they making money? And the worst side of it is the data brokers. These guys are the real devils. They're doing some amazing things out there. Experian's getting raked over the coals by Congress right now, luckily with Rockefeller, because they're selling lists of dementia sufferers for 7 cents a piece. Erectile sufferers, rape victims, milk lovers, cops' home addresses, whatever you want, you can buy it from this group of people. And these companies spend every day, all day long, collecting every piece of information that they can on you, legally and illegally. Just like the mob bosses, they have someone else do it. Now, I don't think that the CEOs of any of these companies are bad people, but what's happened here is the system is totally out of control. In fact, it reminds me a lot of 1984. I don't know how many of you have read this book, but it's an amazing book, and at this point where the entire population has been brainwashed, they all believe that war is peace, slavery is freedom, and ignorance is strength. That was 1984. I think here's the new version, 2014. Here's things I hear all the time. Well, surveillance is just meant, it's to serve me better, right? And I'm not a bad guy. I don't have anything to hide. And even if I did, everything's already out there. Resistance is impossible. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. In fact, there's tons of people watching you, and surveillance isn't your friend. If we actually can collect less data, we can do a better job with data analysis, and we can do a better job serving you. And you do have things to hide. Everybody has things to hide. A couple of things that you should hide are your birth date, your birth location, your social security number, your home address, where your children go, when they're alone. These are the kind of things that everyone needs to hide. And also, the idea of resistance is impossible. Yeah, I think a lot of us have had our information out there already. And if you have, there's things that you can do. For instance, it's not good to have your birthplace and birth location out there because I can steal your identity. And so if you've already gone ahead and done this, start putting wrong birthdays out there and wrong birthplaces. And start adding misinformation to the Google site so that you can take control of your digital soul. It is possible. Don't know how many of you remember this, but this was an ad that ran in the Super Bowl in 1984, Apple versus IBM at that time. And I think today, this is the Iggy Azalea video that's #1 in the United States right now, but this is 2014, and there are ways that you can take control of your digital soul and escape the internet. Crazy concept. I still love technology, but you can still escape the internet with your private information. This is Greta Eliasson, who's our director of marketing. She's the best free skier in the world. It's a world record for more air than anyone. Cory Doctorow, who lives here in London, is my favorite sci-fi writer. He's also one of my advisors. And this is an amazing book for you to read. It's meant for young adults, but it's a quick read and will really get you to understand why things like encryption and steganography are important. Dick Clark also is one of my advisors. He was cyber czar for 12 years in the United States. And he also writes some great books about this that are semi-fiction. But the things that they'll teach you about are cryptography and why cryptography is something that everyone in this room should know about and should be using every day, as much as you can. And steganography as well, which is a lot like crypto, but it's other ways to hide secret messages. And these things are really important for us so that we can give power to the people and take power away from the surveillance state, because that's what we need to do here. A long time ago, my ancestors defected from here and founded the United States. And one of my ancestors was a drummer boy for George Washington. And what he said is, he said, we're going to do something different than the British Post Office at this time that was run by Ben Franklin. And he had a thesis. And his thesis was that in order to build a strong social system, you must have private communications without the government's prying eyes and freedom of information without government censorship. This is what made America great. This is something that everyone deserves, no matter where you are around the world. And that's what we're trying to bring to the world today. These are the most powerful, nonviolent tools, besides comic books, that you can give to the people. And this is how we can create evolution instead of revolution, is by fighting for these rights, no matter where you are, no matter of your frontier, We're lucky enough to have that in a lot of places. But again, my message to you here all is encrypt. Find ways to encrypt. It is your duty, even if you have nothing to hide. Interestingly enough, looking at a map of the world, encryption is still illegal in about half the world, usually in most of the places where they're trying to control the population. But that's pretty interesting because encryption is not a crime. It's a human right, and it's one of the most important human rights that we have today. Luckily, the Universal Human Rights Doctrine actually does support these concepts, both with private correspondence, freedom of information, no matter where you are around the world. The United States has taken it a step farther, and we've actually got 2 amendments that really work hard to protect these rights. And I think it's also important, too, that more CEOs and companies come up and say, I promise that I do not have a backdoor. As of today, I'm the only CEO in the world that has said no publicly to an FBI backdoor, but I'm calling on every CEO to step up and do this because it's what we need to do. It's really important. Again, this was a great lesson that I learned from hackers. In 2009, Thomas Cross, who's been around since DEFCON 1, taught us all how to break into a lawful intercept machine. At the time, I was like, what's a lawful intercept machine? Oh, that's a little machine on the side of the telco carriers that records all of your conversations. I could break into that and listen to anybody's conversations. That was in 2009. This year, we brought Thomas Cross to teach the kids how to do this. The hole is still available. You can still break into these lawful intercept machines, and now the kids know how to do it. So we can't have backdoors. So a while ago, about a year ago maybe, it was pretty stressful for us because 2 of my competitors, LavaBit, had to shut down, and Silent Circle had to burn their servers. Luckily, unlike the way those 2 had architected their systems, we didn't have any keys, and we didn't have any personal information in our databases. We run a zero-knowledge system. But yet it was still pretty stressful for us, so we said, what do we do? And we decided to be the first company in the world to put a warrant canary in our transparency report, which is essentially an anti-gag order. We said, we have not been subject to any secret orders, and we do not have a backdoor. Actually, we got this idea from librarians in the 1970s. In the United States, again, librarians take security and privacy really seriously. If you check out a book, when you bring it back, they throw out your record. They don't keep it. And the FBI was going around and getting book histories on people to tell who was subversive and who was an enemy of the state. And the librarians didn't think that that was a very good idea. So all the librarians that had not been subject to a secret order put this sign on the outside of their door saying the FBI has not been here. So there's no precedent legally to this, so we'll see if it ever gets challenged, but we do have a warrant canary there right now, and since then 11 companies have followed us. Apple was the first, many others after. We just noticed Apple took their warrant canary down. Kind of interesting timing. The difference between us and Apple and Snapchat and WhatsApp and all these other systems is we built a zero-knowledge system because I'm a hacker and I said, I know that the database will be breached and I know that we will be attacked on day 1 by nation states. So what do if that's your threat model? You can't hold anything. It's the same reason why at DEFCON, it's cash only at the door. There's no registration, there's no credit cards. Because if they were, we'd have tons of people that would want that list. And we need to build more zero-knowledge systems. This is the only way to defend against hackers. Wicker's one of the only ones out there, but I'm calling on all of you to do it. And there's ways to not collect metadata when you're making calls. We figured out how to do it by adding billing to the phone, instead of having the carrier know what the billing is. So there are ways to make phone calls and have conversations where no one knows who you're talking to who, when, or how often. And this is really important for human rights activists. Also, as I mentioned, we pay Allison to hack us. We've got $1 million hacking budget. Every company should have this, right? We're only 50 people, and we've got that. We also have the largest bug bounty in the world, where we pay $200,000 to anyone that can find a hole in our system. This is also something that every CEO should do out there. These are the kind of things we need to is embrace hackers and say we need your help and you're important to us, instead of doing the opposite. And the reason why is because the internet is forever. So when those snapping mistakes happened this last week, That's worse than herpes for those kids. Those pictures are there forever, and the internet is forever. And it shouldn't be that way. Plastic is forever, right? And we as humans need to stop making data that lives forever. Maybe sometimes you got a really good picture of you want to live forever, but not usually. And so the right to be forgotten is something in Europe that we hear people talking about a lot. I think it's a really great concept, especially for kids. However, this is one time I'm on Google's side. I don't think it's Google's job to do this. That's not their business, and they're not incentivized to do it. But what I would like to do is make every consumer out there a master of time, a lot like Doctor Who, and make you have control of your own time and your own expiration date on your personal information that you leave out. I think that that's the real way that we do it here. And so at Wicker, we really think of ourselves as the digital milk stamp. What happened a long time ago in society is kids were getting sick and dying from milk. And so we came together as a society and we said, we're going to add an expiration date to milk so that kids don't die anymore. Now pretty much everywhere you go around the world, unless you're getting milk from a cow, you have an expiration date on there, and we've saved a lot of kids. We need to start doing this for our kids here. Personal information should be required to have an expiration date for any children, and I think people in general should have that ability for themselves because the internet is forever, and personal conversations are not meant to be. Our most primitive communications were not recorded, right? And this is how we can bring power to the people and escape the internet. That's all I've got for you. Thanks. And